That piece cut wood. There, they cut wood or not, I'll go get it. In recent years, look at that, the team has found a number of ship-related artifacts in the swamp. That's beautiful, actually, that have been dated to between the 15th and 18th centuries. The ground on Oak Island has kept its secrets for centuries, but in 2024, the team may have just cracked something wide open. What if everything we thought we knew about this place was wrong? What if the key to its mystery has been sitting in plain sight all along? For years, explorers, treasure hunters, and historians have dug deep into the island's history, finding everything from centuries-old ship parts to tunnels that seem too perfectly placed to be natural. But this year, the discoveries are bigger, older, and more shocking than anyone expected. Could the remains of a lost civilization be buried beneath the island? Could the swamp itself be hiding the biggest clue yet, the swamp revelation? For years, the swamp on Oak Island has been a frustrating puzzle. It shouldn't even exist. Some experts believe it was made by human hands centuries ago, but why? To hide something? To protect a secret? Or maybe to bury a story that was never meant to be told? Rick Lana, Gary Drayton, and Billy Gard are back at the swamp's southern border, a place that has given up some of Oak Island's biggest clues. Ship-related artifacts have been found here before: wooden planks, metal fittings, even a ship's railing, dated as far back as the 8th century. That's older than Columbus, older than the Templar, and it raises a huge question: who was here first? As Billy's excavator claws into the muddy ground, Gary's eyes catch something, a shape, a curve. He and Rick jump in for a closer look. It's a long piece of wood, worn but solid with a smoothly curved edge. This isn't random driftwood, this looks built. Gary wipes the mud away. That's a keel, mate. That's boat timber. If he's right, this could be one of the most important finds in years. The team knows that a ship in this swamp isn't just possible, it's likely. In the past, they've pulled up pieces of wooden structures that suggest something big was here centuries ago. The carbon dating on some of these pieces points to the 1200s, meaning someone was using this swamp long before modern records show anyone should have been here. Rick runs his hands over the wood. If this was a keel, then we're not just looking at random ship parts. We're looking at something that was docked here, and that changes everything. If ships were docking here centuries ago, then this swamp wasn't always a swamp. It might have been open water, a hidden harbor, a place where unknown people, were coming and going in a time when no one should have been here. This is where Dr. Doug Simon's theory comes into play. He believes that the Oak Island mystery could be tied to medieval Viking culture or even an older lost civilization. The team has long suspected that Norse explorers could have reached this area hundreds of years before Columbus, but now they might have physical proof in their hands. Gary studies the piece closely. This would have been used to protect the bottom of a boat. If it came off, that means something happened here. Maybe it hit the rocks, maybe it broke off when they were pulling it to shore. Billy steps in. Or maybe it was deliberately left behind. That thought hangs in the air. If this was a ship that sank, then there should be more beneath their feet. If it was abandoned, then someone might have wanted it to be forgotten. One thing is clear: whatever happened here, it wasn't an accident, and the team is just getting started. A lost wall in the swamp. For decades, the swamp has been full of questions. Why is it here? Who built in this area? And most importantly, what might still be hidden beneath it today? Those questions get even bigger as Billy Gearhart's excavator scrapes through the muddy ground. The bucket suddenly hits something solid. At first, it looks like just another piece of wood, but as Gary Drayton moves in with Rick Lana, they realize it's more than that. Hold on a second, Gary mutters, brushing the mud away. They start pulling piece after piece from the earth, long wooden beams, some laid horizontally, others standing straight up, almost like a fence buried underground. The deeper they dig, the more structure they find. This isn't natural, this was built. Rick steps back, shaking his head. This looks like a wall, but why would there be a wall in the middle of a swamp? That's when something clicks. Fred Nolan, decades ago, legendary Oak Island researcher Fred Nolan, claimed that the swamp wasn't natural at all. He believed it was intentionally flooded centuries ago to cover up something important. He even said he had found a wooden barrier buried beneath the muck, a structure he thought could be a dam or a protective wall. Most people dismissed it at the time, but now, standing in front of what could be that very wall, Rick and the team know Fred might have been right all along. Billy studies the beams. This wood is old. If this is part of Fred's wall, we might be looking at something that was here before the swamp even existed, and that changes everything. If this swamp was made, then that means someone hundreds, maybe even thousands of years ago, deliberately flooded this area. The question is why? Gary crouches beside the beams. You don't go through all that effort for nothing. This was done on purpose. The evidence is stacking up. The team has already pulled pieces of a ship from this same swamp, and one of those was carbon dated to the 8th century, a full 700 years before Columbus sailed to the New World. Another set of ship materials was dated to the 1200s. That means someone was here a long time ago, long before history books say they should have been. Rick runs his hand over the wooden beams, his mind racing. If this was a dam, it could mean the swamp was once dry land. Maybe it was a harbor. Maybe it was a safe place to unload cargo. That theory makes too much sense to ignore. If the swamp wasn't always a swamp, then it could have been a hidden docking area, a place where ships came and went without being seen. And if someone eventually flooded it on purpose, it might have been to bury whatever was left behind, a ship, a treasure, a secret. Gary looks up at Rick. So, what do we do now, mate? Rick doesn't hesitate. We keep digging. One thing is clear, this swamp was never just a swamp, and whatever was hidden here, the team is closer than ever to finding it. Connection to the stone road. The deeper the team digs, the more it seems like everything on Oak Island is connected. A buried wooden wall in the swamp is already a game changer, but now another question looms: could it be tied to the mysterious stone road? For years, the stone road has baffled researchers. Discovered deep in the swamp, this carefully built path stretches for hundreds of feet, made of heavy hand-placed stones. It's too structured to be natural. Some experts believe it could be as much as 500 years old, possibly used for transporting something valuable. But who built it, and where did it lead? Now, with the discovery of a hidden wooden structure just feet away, the team starts making connections. Could this road have been used as a cargo unloading site? If so, what was being transported, and who was moving it? Dr. Ian Spooner, the team's geoscientist, steps into the swamp to examine the new wooden find. He's not just looking at the structure itself, he's looking at the dirt around it. If there's one thing he knows, it's that soil doesn't lie. He scans the ground, his boots sinking into the soft earth. We need to look for red sediment, he says. If we find it, that could place this structure much further back in time. That's because the red sediment, rich in iron, has been a key marker for ancient construction in this area. It was found beneath the stone road, suggesting human activity here centuries ago. If the same red soil is present around this wooden structure, it could mean both the road and the wall were part of the same massive operation, one that may have been in use long before Oak Island was ever put on a map. Billy Gart digs deeper, pulling up soil samples. Spooner takes one in his hands, rubbing the damp earth between his fingers. Then he sees it, a faint but unmistakable red tint. That's exactly what we were looking for, he says. Rick Lena nods, deep in thought. If the swamp was once dry land, and if this stone road connected to a hidden docking system, then the pieces are starting to come together. This could have been an ancient transport route used to move something incredibly important. But the biggest question remains: what was so valuable that someone built all of this to hide it? Gary Drayton's voice cuts through the silence. If this was all part of a treasure transport system, then somewhere along this path, there's got to be something left behind. The team exchanges glances. The evidence is stacking up, and the possibilities are growing. Could the stone road, the buried wooden wall, and the remains of a possible dock all be part of one massive operation? A system used by explorers, traders, or even secretive groups hundreds of years ago? And if that's true, how close is the team to finally uncovering what was hidden here? Rick takes a deep breath. I think we're about to find out. A massive boulder hiding a secret. Just when the team thinks they're starting to connect the dots, Oak Island throws another curveball. This time, it comes in the form of a massive boulder, one that might be hiding something even bigger. It all starts near Nolan's Cross, a mysterious arrangement of giant stones that some believe holds the key to Oak Island's greatest secrets. The team has been investigating this area for weeks, following the clues laid out by researchers John Edwards, who believes the cross is tied to the Knights Templar. According to him, one of the boulders marks the location of something buried beneath the swamp, something that could prove a centuries-old treasure is still here. And now they might have just found it. Billy Gart moves in with the excavator, carefully shifting the earth around the boulder. The goal isn't just to see how big it is, it's to see if it was placed here on purpose. If this rock was moved by human hands, it could mean someone deliberately covered something up. Marty Lena watches closely as Billy starts to lift the massive stone. It shifts slightly, then rolls over, and that's when Dr. Ian Spooner spots something strange. "Hold on," he says, stepping forward. "Look at this." Beneath the boulder is a layer of smaller stones, perfectly arranged in a circular formation. This isn't natural. Someone built this, and that means someone wanted this massive boulder to stay exactly where it was. Gary Drayton wipes dirt away from the exposed surface. "This is crazy, mate. This is proper stonework." Dr. Spooner crouches down, running his hands over the ground beneath the formation. Then he spots something even more important, a chunk of wood wedged between the stones, and not just any wood, cut wood. Jaws tighten, hearts race. Wood means human activity, and if it's been buried under this boulder for centuries, it could date back to a time when people weren't even supposed to be on Oak Island. "We need to carbon date this," Spooner says, lifting the piece carefully. "If this matches the ship railing from 2020, we might have just found a direct connection between the swamp and the treasure theories." And that's when the biggest question of all emerges: was this stone formation built to mark something or to hide it? The Knights Templar were known for creating complex symbols, hiding treasure, and building underground chambers to protect their secrets. Could this be one of those sites? The team has seen a lot over the years, but this? This might be the most deliberate-looking feature they've ever found. Rick takes a deep breath. "We need to bring in ground-penetrating radar. If there's something buried here, we're going to find it." Whatever this boulder was covering, one thing is clear: it was never meant to be found until now. A hidden circular stone structure. Every time the team thinks they've seen it all, Oak Island delivers something even more unbelievable. This time, it's a perfectly arranged circle of stones, a feature so precise, so deliberate, that there's no way it was made by nature. It all starts as Billy Gart continues excavation near the swamp's northern end. Just days earlier, the team uncovered a massive boulder placed over a hidden layer of stones, a discovery that might tie into the Knights Templar. But today, Billy notices something different. "Look at this," he says, stopping the excavator. The team gathers around as Billy bails out the murky water beneath the mud. There is a circular pattern of carefully stacked stones, layered just like old-world construction. It's not scattered debris. It's not random rocks. This was built for a reason. Jack Begley leans in, stunned. "This looks engineered." Gary Drayton examines the pattern closely. "Yeah, mate, this is the real deal. This is intentional." That word hangs in the air. For centuries, Oak Island has been the center of theorists, treasure hunters, and historians, many of whom believe secret societies, including the Templars, used coded symbols to mark important locations. Could this stone circle be one of those markers? Rick Lagina steps forward. "If this was built, then we have to ask, who built it, and why?" The answer could be buried within the stones themselves. Dr. Ian Spooner arrives to study the structure. As a geoscientist, he knows that stone formations like this don't just appear. They are placed, positioned, and stacked in a way that means something. This doesn't happen naturally, he confirms. This was placed here deliberately. Billy points out another detail. It's layered 1/2, 2/1, like an old foundation. Rick and the team exchange glances. If this was built, then it could be evidence of human activity centuries before recorded history on Oak Island. Theories start flying. Could this have been a burial marker or ritual site, a hidden entrance to something buried beneath? Gary's mind goes straight to the biggest question of all: if this was meant to mark something, then what's below it? That's when Jack spots something buried in the mud, a wooden stake driven straight into the ground right beside the stone formation. He pulls it out, revealing deep-cut axe marks, eerily similar to what Fred Nolan found decades ago. Craig Tester steps forward. This needs to be carbon dated immediately. Everyone knows what's at stake. Fred Nolan believed that wooden stakes were survey markers used to help create the swamp and possibly conceal something valuable. If this one dates back centuries, it could confirm that people were hiding something here on purpose. Rick takes a deep breath. We don't dig any further until Spooner tests this. The team steps back, staring at the circular structure. What is it marking? What's buried underneath? One thing is certain: this could change everything. The pieces are coming together. The team has uncovered potential ship remains dating back centuries, a hidden wooden wall that suggests the swamp was deliberately flooded, and a massive boulder concealing an artificial structure. Now, with a carefully built stone circle emerging, everything points to Oak Island being a secret hub of activity long before recorded history. Next time, deeper excavations will focus on the wooden wall, stone formation, and transport routes. Could this finally lead to the truth behind the island's greatest mystery? Next time, the team pushes forward, and what they find may change history forever.